It's 1,000 square miles. So why don't we say, listen, where are you from, St. Louis? Great. How about staying with us for a week?
To the public, Lorne Greene was known as the calm backbone of Bonanza, a man assumed to be incapable of real animosity. But behind the scenes, there was one individual he loathed so deeply that he never wanted to cross paths with them again. Who could possibly provoke the man who symbolized stability on the Ponderosa for so many years? And what kind of betrayal could push him to that point in the unforgiving world of Hollywood? Once you discover the identity, the revelation is staggering. At the top of the list sat John Wayne. The most shocking name tied to Greene's private resentment was the most iconic cowboy ever put on film. Few imagined that John Wayne would be the person who hurt Greene the most. The damage wasn't done with rumors or violence, but with a single sentence spoken at exactly the wrong time. The moment unfolded in April 1966 inside the Beverly Hills Hotel. The room buzzed with cameras and reporters packed tightly together as Wayne commanded attention like a battlefield general. When asked whether television westerns were weakening the genre, Wayne leaned in, lifted his brow, and delivered a remark that would linger for years. "If you want the West without blood or guts, watch Bonanza." Laughter tore through the room instantly. Someone yelled that the quote would headline the papers, and by nightfall, it did. Greene later discovered the words staring back at him from newspapers stacked outside his Paramount dressing room. According to a crew member, there was no outburst. Instead, he stood silently, locked on the printed sentence. Not long after, the sting returned, even sharper. At a Beverly Hills charity event, Wayne approached him in full view of donors and executives. Slapping Greene on the back, Wayne joked loudly about TV cowboys having it easy and needing real dust. Once again, the crowd laughed. Greene smiled politely, but those nearest to him noticed his gaze fall. The consequences followed immediately. Radio hosts mocked Bonanza, and columnists framed the narrative as Wayne being the real West, while Greene represented a watered-down version. NBC pressured Greene into interviews to repair the damage, only deepening his discomfort. Wayne never walked anything back or acknowledged the harm his words caused. From that point on, whatever connection they had was gone. In private, Greene later admitted the truth. Wayne had made him feel like an outsider in the very genre he helped build, and that feeling never left him. Second on the list was Clint Eastwood. The next name Greene quietly resented sparked an unspoken rivalry. Eastwood earned his place after redefining the idea of a cowboy at the worst possible moment for Greene. The shift began with a comment few people recognized as pivotal. In late 1971, Eastwood sat before reporters promoting Dirty Harry when someone mentioned the old Moro cowboys of television. Everyone understood the reference pointed straight to Ben Cartwright. Eastwood didn't hesitate or soften his reply. Leaning forward with a familiar half-smile, he delivered a line that sliced through Greene's legacy. "Real cowboys don't preach, they survive." When Greene read the quote, he shut the magazine with deliberate slowness. That instant marked the start of his silent bitterness. To him, Eastwood wasn't criticizing a role, but dismantling the values Greene had defended for years. But the deeper cut came later. At a Universal backlot party, surrounded by executives on a warm evening, someone asked Eastwood about the Cartwrights. With a shrug and dismissive smirk, Eastwood answered that they represented the polite West, and he did not. The comment was quiet, but its impact was not. Greene's face shifted just enough to reveal the blow. The fallout was swift. Publications crowned Eastwood as the future, while casting Greene as a fading sunset. Directors began arguing that audiences no longer wanted moral heroes. They wanted grit, not sermons. Greene watched younger viewers drift away, not out of insult, but change. That change slowly pushed him to the margins. He never challenged Eastwood publicly or spoke harshly about him, but in private, Greene admitted what those closest to him already knew. Eastwood hadn't attacked him directly. He had replaced the world Greene once ruled, and that was the injury that never healed. Third came Michael Landon. The final name was also the most personal, the conflict that fractured the Ponderosa itself. No rivalry stunned Greene more than this one. Michael Landon wasn't just a co-star, but a surrogate son who became his sharpest adversary. Everything ignited when Landon decided the show no longer needed Greene at its core. By late 1966, Greene was still running production with discipline, while Landon quietly maneuvered behind the scenes. He began writing scripts independently and submitting them straight to NBC, bypassing protocol. When the network immediately approved one episode, Landon arrived at set waving the paper like a prize. Tapping the paper, he remarked that the network was ready for something new. Greene paused, just briefly, enough to grasp the declaration beneath the words. Landon wasn't asking for space, he was claiming control. Tensions mounted faster than anyone expected. Over time, Landon began scripting more episodes, steering the show towards emotionally charged arcs focused on younger faces, slowly transforming Bonanza into something far removed from Greene's founding vision. From his vantage point, Greene saw Ben Cartwright recede, saw attention drift towards Landon, and NBC applaud each adjustment without hesitation.
Everything finally snapped in 1972 during a script meeting meant to shape the future. As Greene scanned the pages, his jaw tightened when it became clear his character now barely mattered. Calm and assured, Landon met his gaze and explained, "The audience wants a new direction." Greene offered no protest. He quietly set the script aside, rose from his chair, and exited the room. One producer later said the stillness that followed felt sharp enough to shatter glass. From that moment forward, the set divided cleanly. There were those energized by Landon's creative surge, and those convinced Greene remained the soul of the series. Soon, entertainment magazines crowned Landon the new mastermind behind Bonanza, a label that slowly erased Greene from the spotlight. Greene never challenged him in public, but in private he uttered one of the most devastating truths of his life. He never meant to take anything, yet somehow he took everything. That sense of betrayal cut deeper than any on-screen villain ever could. Holding the fourth position on Greene's personal list was the co-star who turned his workplace into a battlefield. That name was Pernell Roberts, the only actor who confronted Greene openly and relentlessly. From day one, Roberts approached Bonanza not as a family saga, but as an argument waiting to happen, and Greene stood squarely in the center of his criticism. The spark ignited during a script meeting in the early 1960s when others worked hard to preserve peace. Reclining in his chair, Roberts raised his script and declared before the entire crew, "These stories are too polished. Ben Cartwright isn't a father, he's a fantasy." Instantly, all eyes landed on Greene. He said nothing, yet his rigid posture spoke volumes. Roberts pressed on, attacking the scripts, the tone, and especially Greene's portrayal. One heated afternoon in 1963, he slammed the pages on the table and insisted Adam can't grow because Ben won't allow it. After a long pause, Greene answered evenly, "Adam chooses family. That isn't weakness." Roberts shook his head, stood, and walked out, leaving the writers frozen in silence. The tension didn't stay confined to the writers' room. Roberts skipped promotions, declined charity events, and repeatedly left Greene alone to defend the show's unity in interviews. NBC executives pleaded with Greene to act as peacemaker, forcing him into a role he never sought. But the moment that made reconciliation impossible came in 1965. Roberts gave an interview to the San Francisco Chronicle, and his words spread across Hollywood instantly. "I don't believe in Ben Cartwright. He isn't real. He's too perfect to admire."
To Greene, this wasn't a commentary on writing, it was a direct assault on the character he had shaped with years of restraint and emotional depth. From that point on, forgiveness was never an option, and the wound never healed. Occupying the fifth and final spot was the name that truly tested Greene's restraint. Reaching the end of the list didn't soften the impact. Guy Williams earned his place for one unforgettable reason. He was the only man who pushed Lorne Greene so far that the composed patriarch of Bonanza walked off his own set, not in rage, not in pride, but in stunned disbelief at how completely Williams violated the discipline Greene had guarded for years. The turmoil began the moment Williams arrived for his guest appearance in late 1967. Most actors entered the studio quietly, but Williams arrived like a spectacle. He rolled in with photographers trailing behind, clearly alerted in advance. Crew members whispered, "He thinks he's shooting Zorro again." Watching from afar, Greene's jaw tightened as Williams broke the unspoken rule of the Ponderosa: honor the work, not the attention. Then came the retakes again and again. Williams demanded repeated takes not to improve the scene, but to perfect his image, adjusting camera angles, lighting, even Greene's positioning so nothing obscured his profile. During one scene, Williams announced, "We'll redo it. This moment belongs to my character, not Ben Cartwright." Greene didn't respond, but his unblinking stare silenced the room. The final fracture came mid-week. A simple two-line exchange collapsed when Williams halted the scene and said, "Stop, this doesn't feature me properly." Greene turned deliberately, set his hat on the table, and walked off the set without a word. Production shut down for the rest of the afternoon. NBC executives rushed to contain the fallout. Williams later downplayed the moment, but everyone present understood the truth. Williams hadn't wounded Greene's ego, he had struck at Greene's principles. Greene later summarized the experience with a line insiders never forgot. "Some people don't just break rules, they break rooms," and Williams had done exactly that. Now that you've uncovered the reality behind the man Lorne Greene resented more than any other, what's your take? Was his anger warranted, or did Hollywood fuel these rivalries beyond reason? Share your thoughts below, and be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another untold story from Hollywood's golden age.